Good morning, everybody. This is Micro 1650 AM Tonawanda. It's Sunday, 27th of March, 2011. I am your host, Walter Hendricks. This is the event Solvinum Radio on Orion Talk Radio. If you go to our micro1650am.com, you find the banners there from the different hosts. And if you click on Solvinum Radio, you can enter the chat room, ask any questions there, or paste comments, or talk to the other people. That's the interactive part. There's another possibility. You can call in 716-213-6816. And today we're going to continue with last week's topic, Agenda 21. And I'm going to get right into that after a little introduction as to why I just got out of the sun, because I'm in Europe. The sun is shining. It's in the afternoon, 4 o'clock, and I was enjoying the sun, but I had to go make radio. Look, I don't do this for fun. It's not that I want to make radio. I make radio because there is no other option. I have to. This is a must. So I got out of the sun and behind my chair and did preparations, things like that. And so today the topic is sustainable development, Agenda 21. First I'm going to talk a little bit about the words sustainable development. Last week I said I'll get into that later. And so now before we continue, I'm going to try and explain a little bit about what this sustainable development is. It ties a little bit into research. You got research and development, for instance. But also, if you translate development into Dutch, you get a strange word. It's ontwikkeling. But if you look at that word, it means that something has been tied in or has been packaged, and that what you're doing is depackaging. Ontwikkeling in Dutch is development in English, but if you translate it literally, you could speak it as depackaging. And so something is packed, it was already there. And therefore there's a better way to understand the word research. In Dutch, if you translate research, if you translate it back to English, you get under-search. That's a strange word, isn't it? Why would they call it under-search? Because it's a searching at a low level. It's a researching. That means the searching has already been done and you're just doing it again. That's what research is. Okay? So I hope people understand it, what I just rattled out, but these are terms that you need to look carefully at. So sustainable means to keep standing. And yes, in the chat room somebody says, like the word discover. Indeed, there's the word dis and cover, like you take the cover off something, which means there was something already there. Yes. And so sustain means to keep standing. This means that they will try to tell you that things can't stand on their own. The development can't stand on its own, which is of course ridiculous, because we've done without the United Nations and developed things as they did in the last hundreds of years and thousands of years. So there's the word sustainable development in itself is crooked. It's you need crooked thinking to understand it. It's like the word doublethink. You need to use it to understand it. So to sustain means to keep standing. They will tell you that they need your resources to help someone else. It's socialism, communism. Okay. So I guess that's a short explanation of the two words, sustainable and development. So last week we were at chapter 3, paragraph 3.4d. This is just from the keepourrights.org site. They picked out some, and I'm reading the ones they picked out from the Agenda21 PDF that I have here in front of me. So they got chapter 3, paragraph 3.4d, but we're going to read all of it, the 3.4 that is. This is about objectives. It says the long-term objective of enabling all people to achieve sustainable livelihoods should provide an integrating factor that allows policies to address issues of development, sustainable resource management, and poverty eradication simultaneously. The objectives of these programs area are, and then it goes A, B, C, D. But before I go there, it says sustainable resource management. There again, they will try to tell you that there's not enough for everybody, which is ridiculous. Like in the 70s, I remember that, in the television, they told us that the oil was going to be very short. And here in Holland, we had to get stamps from the government, and those stamps will allow you to buy so and so much gas. Okay? Like, what you call that? Rationing. Can't find the right word at the moment, but... So those stamps allowed you to buy a certain amount of gas, and you couldn't buy anymore because supposedly there was no oil to make the gasoline. Okay, that was rubbish. Total and utter rubbish. When done research, because I asked my dad about it, businessman as he was, I said, how is it with this oil? I said, how much oil is there? And he said, well, we checked and OPEC has enough oil for the coming 80 years. Okay, and that was about 30 years ago. 30 years ago, 40 years ago, something like that. So there's still enough oil for the coming 40 years, according to my dad in that time. So they will try to tell you in all of the kinds of levels that there is not enough. And that therefore, that's an excuse for them to take it away from you. Okay? Also, they have here poverty eradication. If you want to eradicate poverty, all you have to do is leave the people alone. Then things would go much better. If governments would leave the people alone, they wouldn't be taxed to death. And the government would not, for instance, meddle with the money system. Let the people figure out themselves how to handle the banks, because after all, it's our energy, and we shouldn't let the banks decide what's going on here. So poverty eradication, just leave the people alone. That will be the best. So, but these points that they want to, the objectives are A, to provide all, this is 3.4a, to provide all persons urgently with the opportunity to earn a sustainable livelihood. Well, this is against everything that I know, and I'm just a beginning student of this, but this goes against everything that is natural law. Okay? People that are born on this earth, in this nature, don't need anybody else to tell them how urgent it is for them to get an opportunity to earn a sustainable livelihood. That's ridiculous. You don't have to earn it. You are born here. You don't need to earn anything. All of the living beings on this earth that are born here have their place, and they don't need to earn anything. Welcome back, everybody. I'm your host, Walter. This is Micro 1650 AM. And you can call in 716-213-6816. I'm going to continue here with this laughable grassroots comment that they had. Promoting or establishing grassroots mechanisms to allow for the sharing of experience and knowledge between communities. Well, if you would really allow sharing of knowledge, you would not allow mainstream media to do what it is doing at the moment. It is distracting you from everything that is important, not giving you the information that you need. Continuing, D, giving communities a large measure of participation in the sustainable management and protection of the local natural resources in order to enhance their productivity capacity. Giving communities a larger measure of participation in the sustainable management and protection of the local natural resources. And that's like, for instance, we have here in the Netherlands, up in the north, there is an enormous gas reserve in the ground. And if the government would like to use that, what they do is what they call unown the people that live on the land that they need to get the gas out, okay? Of course, it's not like, and maybe perhaps in other countries it goes, they pick you up and throw you in jail or whatever, they kill you. First, you get a letter, a nice letter with a nice offer, offering you $1 million to get lost or something. But if you refuse to do that, they can and will unown you. And that means you get nothing. Okay? So what do you mean participation? Okay? E, establish a network of community-based learning centers for capacity building and sustainable development. Yuck. A network of community-based learning centers. The teachers, they should be ashamed of themselves. Teachers at school. How dare you call yourself a teacher? You haven't even had a thought of your own. 3.8. Governments, with the assistance of and in cooperation with appropriate international, non-governmental and local community organizations, this is by the way 3.8, should establish measures that will directly or indirectly aid ABC, but let me check if where they continues, 3.7, see they jump to 4, so I guess we'll do that too. Chapter 4, paragraph 4.4, but we'll see what it says at chapter 4. Scrolling down here. Chapter 4 is changing consumption patterns. Here they will tell you what you can eat, drink, and whatever. 4.1. This chapter contains the following program areas, focusing on sustainable patterns of production and consumption. B, developing national policies and strategies to encourage changes in unsustainable consumption patterns. Yeah, what they deem unsustainable consumption patterns. That means that nobody will be able to live at the American standard, or what used to be. I'm sorry, but I should have said what used to be the American standard. And in a large degree, the first world European standard, because they would all like you to live at a Chinese slave labor standard. But here they mentioned 4.4. 4.4 comes under program areas, focusing on unsustainable patterns of production and consumption. 4.4, it says, measures to be undertaken at the international level for the protection and enhancement of environment must take fully into account the current imbalances in the global pattern of consumption and production. Yeah, well, like I said last week, it's a bit strange that here we can hardly find products like fruits, for instance, or other things that have been produced in poor countries for cheap, because it's poor. Like if you take, just to go off on a little example here, but if you take our euros, you take a month's wage, you take that to India, for instance, you change it into rupees, you're, in lots of people's eyes, you're a rich man. Okay, because you can do a lot with rupees. Because the people don't make much money there, things are also a lot cheaper, okay? So, because things are made cheaper in third world countries, but I can hardly find them here in Europe, at least in my country. I haven't been outside my country lately, but so what's going on here? Why aren't these products available? Especially because they're so cheap. Okay, this has been worked against since free trade, basically. And it's over hundreds of years. Okay, what do they got next here? It is chapter 4, 4.15. Okay, jumping, 10, 11, 4.15. 4.15 comes under B, developing national policies and strategies to encourage changes in unsustainable consumption patterns. 4.15, basis for action. Achieving the goals of environmental quality and sustainable development will require efficiency in production and changes in consumption patterns. And those changes in consumption patterns, again, means, in their eyes, down to the level of Chinese slave labor. Continuing, in order to emphasize optimization of resource use and minimization of waste. In many instances, but I'm going to stop just for a little bit here, they're using the word waste. Now, if we were living more in tune with nature, there wouldn't be so much waste, because in nature there is no waste. Continuing, in many instances, this will require reorientation of existing production and consumption patterns that have developed in industrial societies and are in turn emulated in much of the world. In turn emulated in much of the world? No. It's being moved to China and India. That's what happened. 4.16 would be the next, but let's see what they got here. They're choosing 4.17. 4.17 comes under objectives. In the years ahead, governments working with appropriate organizations should strive to meet the following broad objectives. A, to promote efficiency in production processes and reduce wasteful consumption in the process of economic growth, taking into account the development needs of developing countries. Strange, this. Reduce wasteful consumption? You mean like the cheap Chinese crap that is sold here on the markets? That's wasteful. Welcome back, everybody. This is Micro 1650 AM. I'm your host, Walter. You can call in 716-213-6816. I'm going to continue here. We were at 4:17. To develop a domestic policy framework that will encourage a shift to more sustainable patterns of production and consumption. C, to enforce both values that encourage sustainable production and consumption patterns and policies that encourage the transfer of environmentally sound technologies to developing countries. Let's see, what have they got? Without, it says here on the site in red, chapter 4, paragraph 424, without the stimulus of prices and market signals. Let's see, 424. Here we go. 424 falls under E, moving towards environmentally sound pricing. Without the stimulus of prices and market signals that make clear to producers and consumers the environmental costs of the consumption of energy, they're tying here, like with CO2 nonsense, the consumption, the cost of consumption and energy with environment. It's kind of ridiculous. You hear these ridiculous ideas of cows farting, okay? Animals have been farting for over millions and millions and millions of years. I don't know what these people are thinking, but it's nuts, okay? It's not even a topic. It's too nutcasey to discuss. Use your own brain, for heaven's sake. Materials and natural resources and the generation of wastes, significant changes in consumption and production patterns seem unlikely to occur in the near future. Yeah. 424. What did they got next? They're jumping to 528. 16, 28. 28 falls under B, building and strengthening a national information base. 528, population data should be disaggregated. What's that? Disaggregated? Disaggregated. What's that? Disaggregated. That's a word I don't know. By inter alia, sex and age, in order to take into account the implications of the gender division of labor for the use and management of natural resources. Well, first of all, it's ridiculous that a woman has to work. Okay, she shouldn't have to work. I don't mind women working. If they want to, go ahead. But they shouldn't have to. It used to be that a man working on his own, doing a normal job in the steel factory, for instance, was able to, use the word again, sustain. It's a bad word, But he used to be able to keep his family alive, send his children to school, pay for the rent or mortgage, car, whatever. Okay, but now, through the so-called women liberation, which is a false flag operation, now women are being forced to work also. So that they also become slaves. Okay? So yuck, 528, and jumping to 543, 543. 543 falls under C, implementing integrated environment and development programs at the local level. That's ICLEI again, ICLEI. Taking into account demographic trends and factors. The objective is 543 population programs. What's that? Population programs. Uh-oh. What is that? Population programs should be implemented along with natural resource management and development programs at the local level that will ensure sustainable use of natural resources, improve the quality of life of the people, and enhance environmental quality. Yeah. I'm so glad I'm awake and I can read through this crap. It says eugenics should be implemented. And to put it in simple words, at the local level, it means your government is going to decide how much food is available for you. Because your government will be given a certain portion of what has been stolen from everybody else. Okay? You could see this as the United Nations taking control of everything, then deciding, population-wise, you got so many people, so you got so many food. That means that here in the Netherlands, if we were to eat as much food as the people in India, for instance, the people would not accept that, because we are living at a higher standard. And we're going to go down to the level of India, and that will take decades. Okay? In the last 3 decades, it has been halved. Because as I said, now a man and a woman both have to work, and then they got trouble paying all their bills here in Europe, okay? So we've already been halved, because 3-4 decades ago, the man that worked could pay everything and still have money left, okay? So we're going to be halved again in the next couple of decades. This means that there's not enough for everybody, supposedly. Of course, there is enough for everybody. They're trying to tell you that there isn't enough for everybody, but there is. I done asking a farmer, okay, a real farmer who knows how much food you can get from a piece of land. I asked him, how much would it take of all of Holland to feed the whole country? And he said, Flevoland would be enough. And I know Flevoland. Flevoland is about 10% of the total land mass of Holland. And so I said, okay, so that's 10% of the land we need to feed all the people here in the Netherlands. Yep, he said. So you see how small amount of land we need for just the food, okay? Now, the next thing, of course, that is important are shelter and water. So that shelter has been built already, and water is falling from the sky. So we don't have any problems. There are no problems. They will tell you that there are so much problems everywhere. There aren't really. They're just making problems. Yeah, 543 is a yucky one. Okay, so they will tell you that because there is not enough for everybody, we're only going to give you this much food. Okay? That will lead to a population reduction. That was 5.43. And they're continuing here to chapter 5, paragraph 5.56. Let's continue here. Scroll. 5.56. Falls under C. Creating appropriate institutional conditions. 5.56. Proposals should be developed for local, national and international population and environment programs. Again, this is eugenics. In line with specific needs for achieving sustainability. Where appropriate, institutional changes must be implemented so that old age security does not entirely depend on input from family members. In the first hour, we were discussing Agenda 21. We're going to continue to do that. Now, where did we leave off? 5.56, Chapter 5. And that falls under creating appropriate institutional conditions. 5.56. Proposals should be developed for local, national and international population environment programs, read eugenics, in line with specific needs for achieving sustainability. Where appropriate, institutional changes must be implemented so that old age security does not entirely depend on input from family members. Look, old age security and family members is something that government has been meddling with, and the best thing would have been for them to leave us alone. Because why is it that lots of people all over Europe are still paying money for shelter? Okay, it should be that if your parents or your parents' parents or your parents' parents' parents had a piece of land and built a house there, that you should be able to live there. If you can update the house when electricity was invented or whatever, you can do the changes you need to get your shelter in order again. And there's a leak in the roof, you fix it. Okay, and then you pass it on to your son or daughter. Okay, and then that should be it. Government should not come in there and come with taxes or whatever, or say that it's not sustainable, or have a complaint about the water coming from the roof. That's how you, what does it say here? Make sure that the old age security is okay, that the old people and the new people are all okay. Because it used to be that in one house you had different generations living. You had little children walking around, and the parents walking around, and the grandparents walking around in the same house. And it used to be normal for people to take care of their parents if their parents could not take care of themselves anymore. What we do now is we put them in death houses. That's what I call them, death houses. It's been conditioned into us that, well, if you're old, you're going to the death house. And there you can die quietly. After the pharmaceuticals take their last suck out of you. So all of this, these proposals that they come with to solve so-called problems are, in the first place, they could be fake problems, and the second place, if they are real problems, they are created by the same people that come with the proposal to solve the problem. Okay, it's the basic problem reaction solution, or better said, solution problem reaction, that is used on so many levels. And not only on a day-to-day basis, but also on decades-wise, this trick is used. Let's see, what are they continuing with here? Chapter 6, paragraph 6.26. Chapter 6 is protecting and promoting human health. Oh, yuck. 6.6 it was, right? 6.6. 6.26. 6.26. Here we go. I guess I should read 6.1 too. There's probably something in there. Because 6.2, 6.3, there's no 6.26 here. Strange. Chapter 6, 6.26. No, let's see what they got. 6.1. Health and development are intimately interconnected. Health and development are intimately interconnected. Is that so? Well, I would argue against that. I mean, if people weren't as stressed as they are, because they can hardly pay the bills, they would have better health. And people are stressed because there has to be development. There has to be economic growth, which in itself, the words economic growth are a bit strange, because I was told that the word economy means growth. So, but because there's this fake pressure that says you have to make more and more, and you have to, because prices are rising dramatically. Okay, so there's this stress coming along with the so-called development. Both insufficient development leading to poverty and inappropriate development resulting in overconsumption. Well, I don't know about you people, but I decide what I consume or not. And looking at the way, for instance, Monsanto is handling the food market, I decide that I make my own food. And I don't eat too much, because if you eat too much, you get too big. You get too much weight that you have to pull around with you every day. You have to drag it along with you, your body. Okay, so don't overconsume. That's just plain stupid. Now, you shouldn't be hungry. That's, of course, the other end. I advise people, and this is just because there's so much poison in everything, to eat as less as possible. Not because I'm now promoting sustainable development and Agenda 21 here. No, because what you're eating is poisoned on many fronts. We could start with chemtrails, for instance. There's these... I should check this. I got the patents from other things, but I haven't been able to find the patents for this one yet. But there's apparently Monsanto is genetically modifying organisms to withstand the aluminium oxide that has been dumped on us for the past 11 years. This aluminium oxide that is in the chemtrails lands on the earth and makes the earth drop in pH. Drop in pH. Or is it drop or fall? Fall or rise? I thought it was a rise. Now I don't remember correctly. I thought it was a rise. Yeah, a rise in pH. But plants, they need a lower pH. Some plants need a very low pH. And I hear the music coming in again, people, so I'll continue with this after the break. This is the Event Solvino Radio. I'm your host, Walter. You can call in 716-213-6816, or you can email me at solvino1@yahoo.com. That's a numeral 1. Or you can go to micro1650am.com, click on the banner Solvino Radio, and you can enter the chat room. Ask any questions or paste comments there. And we were talking about food and poisons. Food is used as a weapon. I advise strongly that you check out if your food is genetically modified or not. Because they've done tests with other mammals, and they get cancer in the stomach, and their offspring is sterile and stuff like that. So it's poison. So we were trying to find a chapter here that was mentioned on keepourrights.org, but I don't find a chapter 6, paragraph 6.26, so we'll just, what it is supposed to read, it says, governments should take active steps to implement programs to establish and strengthen preventive and curative health facilities, which include women-centered, women-managed. Again, why women? Safe and effective reproductive health care. Reproductive health care? You mean like abortion? And affordable, accessible services as appropriate for the responsible planning of family size. That's eugenics! But let's see where it really says that in Agenda 21, because, like I said, I can't find 6.26. We're starting here with 6.1. Health and development are intimately interconnected. Both insufficient development leading to poverty and inappropriate development resulting in overconsumption, coupled with an expanding world population, can result in severe environmental health problems in both developing and developed nations. Action items under Agenda 21 must address the primary health needs of world populations. Yeah, they must, huh? Well, I'm lucky to be boss of my own body, and I don't get sick much, to be honest. Sickness is the whole topic in itself. I hope to be able to discuss this with Desiree Reuver. She already agreed with me to come on. She's a medical journalist, so we will discuss sickness at a later point. Just make sure you get that live edition. I will be telling you when it comes. Action items under Agenda 21 must address the primary health needs of the world's population, since they are integral to the achievement of the goals of sustainable development and primary environmental care. The linkage of health, environmental and socio-economic improvements requires intersectoral efforts. Such efforts involving education, you mean indoctrination, and conditioning, housing, public works and community groups, including businesses, schools and universities, and religious, civic and cultural organizations are aimed at enabling people in their communities to ensure sustainable development. Oh, really? Let's see, try and read that sentence again, because such efforts involving education, and now I'm skipping something here, because the commas, you can skip. So such efforts involving education, schools, and universities and religions, are aimed at enabling people in their communities to ensure sustainable development. So how does religion enable people in their communities to ensure sustainable development? Well, the short answer to that is Gaia. Earth worship. Particularly relevant is the inclusion of prevention programs rather than relying solely on remediation and treatment. This is strange. This is something you will hear me do more often, because solely, the word soul is from the word sun. So we got stellar things like the sun and the moon. Okay, but moon is also Luna. And now we can tie those two together, actually, the sun and the moon. Because when you get the sun, which is Sol, from my name, Solvinur, which is Icelandic. Sol means sun. But Sol also means alone or one. Okay, but Luna, from the moon, Luna, you can make the word alone or lone, which also means one. Isn't that strange, huh? Yeah, it just skipped into my mind. So anyway, because I like to tear apart words and stuff. So continuing here, countries ought to develop plans for priority actions drawing on the program areas in this chapter, which are based on cooperative planning by the various levels of government. It's talking about tearing apart words. Government is such a word you could tear apart as govern and ment. Ment is supposed to be mind, and govern is rule or mind control. Non-governmental organizations and local communities and appropriate international organizations such as the World Health Organization should coordinate these activities. 6.2. The following program areas are contained in this chapter. A. Meeting primary health care needs, particularly in rural areas. And another thing I could say about this whole healthcare thing is that there are other practices, like for instance Ayurveda or acupuncture, that are Indian and Chinese, and they seem to be working. Okay, they've been treating people for thousands of years this way. But if you try and come with those methods here in the Western society, they won't accept it. Yeah, there's all kinds of money you can get from the government if you want to do something. But if you want to set up an Ayurvedic hospital, forget it. They won't let you. They won't help you. 6.2. C. Protecting vulnerable groups. D. C. Protecting vulnerable groups. All these groups, I think it's ridiculous. I mean, no offense against gay people, but you shouldn't be a group. It's out of the world. If we go and make groups for everybody, it's going to become such a mess. We all have the same quote-unquote rights that should not be able to be given by governments, by the way. But as a gay, you shouldn't have more rights or less rights than any other human being. So all these groups, get lost, get out of here. 6.2D, meeting the urban health challenge. Here, there's another problem they want to shove down their throat. E, reducing health risk from environmental pollution and hazards. Reducing health risks from environmental pollution and hazards. You mean like GMO food? And then it jumps to 6.3. So you see there is no 6.26. Let's see what they continue with anyway. They're jumping to 6.33. And there's a no 3 either, but there's a 3. It falls under program areas, basically continues where we left off. A, meeting primary healthcare needs, particularly in rural areas, basis for action. Try and make normal sentences, you guys. 6.3. Health ultimately depends on the ability to manage successfully the interaction between the physical, spiritual, biological, and economic, social environment. No, that is not correct, as we will explain when I get Desiree Reuver on. Sound development is not possible without a healthy population. Yeah, well, they don't really want you healthy. They want you sick so that the pharmaceutical industries can suck off you. Yet most developmental activities affect the environment to some degree, which in turn causes or exacerbates many health problems. Conversely, it is the very lack of development that adversely affects the health conditions of many people, which can be alleviated only through development. That's rubbish. The health sector cannot meet basic needs and objectives on its own. The health sector, yeah. It's like, it's a economic sector, the health sector. And that, while people on their own should be able to keep your body healthy, okay? The health sector cannot meet these basic needs and objectives on its own. Why not? Is something wrong with the doctors or something? Are they not getting the basic education they need or what? Why can they not meet the basic needs? It's rubbish. It is dependent on social, economic and spiritual development. Here they're using the word spiritual for the second time. They have no clue what spirituality is. Most people don't. Especially the New Agers don't. I saw this stupid, because sometimes I don't have a TV at home. Threw it out years and years ago. And if you still have a TV at home, get it out now. But I saw this on TV. There were these 2 people and they were sitting on a cushion. The Dutch people sitting on a cushion in this almost impossible situation that only yogis practice in India. And they're sitting there in their chamber and the commenter is asking questions. In the meanwhile, there's a voiceover and you can hear them talking about it. And they say, well, no, we don't kiss each other. We don't even touch each other. Okay, and that's supposed to be spiritual. Now they're sitting there in their homes doing nothing. I'm going to make a prediction. If people are going to do this, they're going to go nuts. Because they're not used to living inside their own mind. They'll go crazy. They will come to find out that they have not, in their whole lives, had a thought of their own. They've been programmed. And when they find that out, most of the people, they won't be able to hack it. They will go back to sleep. They will fall into cognitive dissonance. So don't even try and talk to me about spirituality. It's ridiculous. It's another false flag socio-environmental programming. Continuing, while directly contributing to such development, point, it is also dependent on a healthy environment, including the provision of a safe water supply. Yeah, like without fluoride.
and sanitation, and the promotion of a safe food supply, and proper nutrition, like, without GMO food. Particular attention should be directed towards the food safety, with priority placed on the elimination of food contamination. Like you do with meddling with the DNA of the food. Comprehensive and sustainable water policies. Again, they're trying to tell you what to do with your water. This is natural law they're fighting. Water's falling from the sky, and they will tell you what to do with it. It's ridiculous. Comprehensive and sustainable water policies to ensure safe drinking water and sanitation to preclude both microbial and chemical contamination. I called the water company. They told me that there's all kinds of chemical contamination in the water. They are supposedly not able getting it out. And promotion of health education. Immunizations. Get your shot today. Unbelievable. Desiree Reuver will have a lot to say about that too. Immunizations and provision of essential drugs. Education, immunization and provision of essential drugs. Essential drugs could be like Soma. Education and appropriate services regarding responsible planning of family size. Again, eugenics. With respect for cultural, religious and social aspects. You mean without any respect. In keeping with freedom. How dare these people use the word freedom? Dignity and personal health values, and taking into account ethical and cultural considerations. Also contribute to these intersectoral activities. That was 6.3, because there's no 6.33. What are you jumping to here next? Next is 7.9. They're supposed to say, as a first step towards the goal of providing adequate shelter for all, countries should take immediate measures to provide shelter to their homeless poor. Chapter 7, 7.9. Let's see what it says there. Chapter 7. 6.11. Come on, you guys. Faster. 6.15. Oh my God. Scrolling. 6.41. 7. Agenda 21. 7. Is promoting sustainable human settlement development. Oh, we're coming into a break. This is Micro 1650 AM. I'm your host Walter. This is the event Solvinor Radio. The last segments, so you can call in 716-213-6816. I'm going to continue here. 7.9 activities, Agenda 21. The following activities should be undertaken. Let's see, 7.9. There's a whole list of A to Z almost. Let's see. They are taking A and 7. Then they're jumping back to 6.9. They need to get that better because there is no 6.9. A, it says, the following activities should be undertaken. A, as a first step towards the goal of providing adequate shelter. Okay, so it indeed says that. For all countries should take immediate measures to provide shelter to their homeless poor, while the international community and financial institutions should undertake actions to support the efforts of the developing countries to provide shelter to the poor. This is another scam, of course, because what you will find is that these so-called poor, they already have some kind of shelter. There's only very few people living on the streets. And But when you talk about these people living on the streets, and you gonna provide them shelter, that's not gonna be for free, okay? They're gonna have to pay for that. So they're being sucked into this economic system. Basically being used as an economic unit, although you're very poor, okay? That's what you should read here. Oh, let's see, where did they continue? 7, I guess they mean D here. What does it say under D? All countries should, as appropriate, facilitate access of urban and rural poor to shelter by adopting and utilizing housing and finance schemes. Yeah. And new innovative mechanisms adapted to their circumstances. What does it say here? There's another, it says under D, it should say, according to this site, which it doesn't, but all countries should formulate appropriate land use policies and introduce planning regulations, especially aimed at the protection of eco-sensitive zones against physical disruption by constructing related activities. I think they're meaning, like with, like I said last week, that they're trying to make a livable area out of deserts. Those are called eco-sensitive zones, but I may be mistaken here. So monitoring is continuing here at Chapter 8, paragraph 8.4, Chapter 8. Scroll. I light my cigarette. Yeah, I smoke on air, people. Ridiculousness about this war against smoking should also be dropped. What see we got here? Paragraph 8, 8.4. Let's see. 7.66. No. 780. Gee, 7 is a big chapter. Here we go. 8. 8 is integrating environment and development in decision making. Yeah, the decision has already been made. Like I said in the first hour, we're living in a planned society, and the decisions have already been made. It's just that we're not informed. Chapter 8, 8.4, they want us to read. Let's see what it says under 8.4. It says A, improving decision-making processes. 8.4, the primary need is to integrate environmental and developmental decision-making processes. To do this, governments, and it says here, to do this, comma, governments, with a capital letter G. What the heck is that? Why is that with a capital letter G? What kind of nonsense is that? To do this, governments should conduct a national review and, where appropriate, improve the processes of decision-making so as to achieve the progressive integration of economic, social and environmental issues in the pursuit of development that is economically efficient. So here, there's a comma there, so we'll continue this, but it says government should conduct national review and, where appropriate, improve processes of decision-making. What they're saying here is that government should interfere with the economic and social and environmental issues. Look, it's kind of ridiculous that you have a Department of Culture, okay? We also have a Department of Culture here in the Netherlands. Most of the countries have a Department of Culture. It's ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense because we are the culture. We don't need some department to tell us what culture we are. continuing, socially equitable and responsible and environmentally sound, it said after the comma. Countries will develop their own priorities in accordance with their national plans, policies and programs for the following activities. A. Ensure the integration of economic, social and environmental considerations in decision-making at all levels and in all ministries. Wow. That's kind of like all of it. Like I said, they want to control everything. B. Adopting a domestically formulated policy framework that reflects a long-term perspective and cross-sectoral approach as the basis for decisions, taking account of the linkage between and within the various political, economic, social and environmental issues involved in the development process. These people want to control everything, and in fact they already do. And they're using basically 3 main pillars to do that. And that is politics, money and religion. And here you see the politics coming into front because they're using the governments to push through their agenda. Okay, the governments are basically a front. They are the in-betweens between the real powers that be and the people. C. Establishing domestically determined ways and means to ensure the coherence of sectoral, economic, social and environmental policies. Plans and policy instruments, including fiscal measures and the budget. These mechanisms should apply at various levels and bring together those interested in the development process. D. Monitoring and evaluating the development process systematically, conducting regular review of the state of human resource development, economic and social conditions and trends. Trends, by the way, are also a part of culture creation. The state and the environment and natural resources. This could be complemented by annual environment and developmental reviews, with a view to assessing sustainable development achievements by the various sectors and departments of governments. E. Ensuring transparency of and accountability for the environmental implications of economic and sectoral policies. And last, F. Ensuring access by the public to relevant information. You gotta be joking, right? This is why I'm forced to make radio, because there is no relevant information. Facilitating the reception of public views and allowing for effective participation. That's it, folks, for me this week. We're coming on to the end of the show. I want to thank you all very much for listening. And I hope you will be back next week. Check out the other programs on Orion Talk Radio. There's a couple of good going on. Later today, you will hear JJ Against the Wall. Check out this program. I think you can hear in his voice and the way he makes radio that is real. And you find that, you don't find that much real radio. So check that out if you like. And I will be back next week. We will continue this Eugenics Agenda 21. And I hope you will be back then too. So take care, people. Catch some sun rays if you can to make some vitamin D.